The human man's mistake leads him to the alien women's seductive ship. Signal in the dark. The Antarctic research station glowed like a lone star against the endless white landscape. Inside, Dr. Mason Reed adjusted the calibration on his quantum resonance transmitter, a device he'd spent 3 years developing. His colleagues had departed weeks ago, leaving him alone with the final phase of his experiment, to send a signal capable of maintaining coherence across vast distances. Just a few more adjustments, Mason muttered to himself, brushing dark hair from his eyes. The isolation suited him. It always had. People were complicated, but physics made sense. Outside, the aurora australis painted the night sky in waves of green and blue, creating atmospheric conditions perfect for his experiment. Mason checked his calculations one final time, then initiated the broadcast sequence. The transmitter hummed to life, its core elements glowing with increasing intensity. "Sending test pattern alpha," he said into his recorder. "Quantum coherence at 97%. The signal shot outward, designed to maintain integrity for light years before dissipating. What Mason didn't realize was that he had miscalculated one critical variable, the resonance frequency. Instead of transmitting along his intended narrow beam, the signal expanded outward in a pulse that rippled through space like a stone thrown into a cosmic pond. 12 light-years away, aboard the sleek exploratory vessel Lunaris, Captain Verena stood on the observation deck. Her lavender skin caught the starlight as she gazed at the stellar map projected before her. The Stellarians had been traveling for nearly a decade, mapping this sector of the galaxy while searching for resources and knowledge. "Captain," called Zara, her communications specialist. "We're detecting an unusual signal. It appears to be artificially generated." Verena turned, her luminous violet eyes narrowing with interest. "Source?" "A small blue planet in a peripheral system," Zara replied. "The signal pattern suggests intelligent design, but it's unlike anything in our database." Verena approached the console, studying the waveform. "Fascinating. It's almost as if they're reaching out." "Should we ignore it?" asked Neria, her second-in-command, always cautious. "Our mission parameters don't include contact with developing worlds." Verena's lips curved into a smile. "But they reached us, didn't they? That changes things." She touched the signal representation, watching it pulse beneath her fingertips. "Plot a course. I want to investigate personally." Captain Ilara, the ship's xenobiologist, joined them. "Initial analysis suggests the signal originated from a species we've never encountered." "This could be significant," Verena nodded. "Indeed. And if they can send such signals, imagine what else they might teach us." Back on Earth, Mason was puzzled by the readings on his monitors. The signal had reflected back somehow, creating an echo pattern he couldn't explain. He ran diagnostic after diagnostic, but the equipment was functioning properly. "This doesn't make sense," he said, reviewing the data. Unless something out there had received his signal and responded? The thought should have seemed absurd, but as a scientist, Mason couldn't dismiss the evidence before him. He began recalibrating his equipment to analyze the echo pattern, unaware that across the void of space, the Lunaris had changed course and was now heading directly toward Earth. And him. First contact. 3 days after the mysterious signal reflection, Mason woke to blaring alarms. The research station's proximity sensors had activated, detecting something massive approaching from the sky. He rushed to the observation dome, his breath catching as he glimpsed a vessel unlike anything human engineering could create. Sleek, with curved lines that seemed to flow like liquid metal, glowing with soft blue-violet light. "That's impossible," he whispered, reaching for the emergency communication system. Before he could activate it, the equipment around him powered down. One by one, the station's systems went offline, leaving only emergency lighting. A soft hum filled the air as a circle of light appeared on the floor, expanding into a shimmering column. Within it, 3 figures materialized, humanoid but clearly not human. The tallest stepped forward, her lavender skin contrasting with the silver white of her close-fitting attire. Her eyes, larger than human eyes and a deep violet, fixed on Mason with unmistakable intelligence. "You sent the signal," she said, her voice melodic with an accent he couldn't place. Somehow she was speaking English. Mason swallowed hard. "I did. My name is Dr. Mason Reed. I am Verena, captain of the Lunaris." She gestured to the 2 others. "My second officer, Neria, and our xenobiologist, Ilara. Ilara stepped closer, her expression filled with undisguised curiosity. Unlike Verina's regal bearing, Ilara moved with a lighter step, her purple skin a shade brighter, her smile immediate and warm. "Fascinating," she said, reaching toward Mason's hand before stopping herself. "May I?" Confused but intrigued, Mason extended his hand. Ilara's touch was warm, her skin smoother than he expected. A slight tingling sensation traveled up his arm. "Your electromagnetic signature is unique," she explained. "We've never encountered your species before." Neria remained back, her posture tense, eyes watchful. Her deeper purple skin was marked with subtle patterns that shifted with her movements. "Captain, we should proceed with caution. The directive—" "I'm aware of protocol, Neria," Verina interrupted, her gaze never leaving Mason. "But this human reached across space to us. That deserves special consideration." Mason found himself unable to look away from Verina. There was something in her presence, an authority that didn't need assertion, a confidence that seemed to fill the room. "You're explorers?" he asked. "We are seekers," Verina replied. "Knowledge, resources, understanding, these are what we pursue across the stars." She stepped closer. "Your signal suggests technology more advanced than we expected from your world." "It was experimental," Mason admitted. "I didn't expect it to reach anyone, especially not visitors from another star." Ilara circled him, scanning with a device that resembled a translucent crystal. "His physiology is remarkable," she said to Verina. "Similar to ours in many ways, yet distinctly different." "We won't harm you, Dr. Reed," Verina assured him, noticing his nervousness. "We wish to learn." "Exchange knowledge, and then what?" Mason asked, finding his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial fear. Verina's lips curved into a smile that sent an unexpected warmth through Mason's chest. "That depends on what we discover about each other." The invitation. A week passed with the Stellarians visiting the research station daily. Mason found himself increasingly fascinated by their advanced technology and culture. Ilara had taken to bringing him samples of their food, nutrient-rich and flavored with spices unknown to Earth, while explaining their homeworld's ecosystem. Neria remained distant but had gradually stopped treating him with suspicion. It was Verina, however, who occupied his thoughts most. Her questions were incisive, her interest in human culture genuine. When she spoke of stellar navigation or quantum physics, Mason recognized a mind that outpaced even his own. "Your quantum resonance work is impressive," she told him one evening as they reviewed his research, "but limited by your material science." Their shoulders nearly touched as they bent over his equations. Mason was acutely aware of her proximity, the subtle scent that reminded him of something like jasmine but with an otherworldly note. "Perhaps you could show me how you'd improve it," Mason suggested. Verina looked up, their faces unexpectedly close. "Our ship contains technology that would answer many of your questions." A pause. "Would you like to see it?" The invitation hung between them, weighted with implications. Visiting an alien vessel. No human had ever done such a thing. "Yes," Mason answered without hesitation. The following morning he found himself aboard the Lunaris, surrounded by technology centuries beyond Earth's development. The ship itself seemed alive, responding to touch and thought in ways that blurred the line between organism and machine. "The Lunaris is semi-organic," Verina explained as she led him through corridors that shifted subtly as they walked. "It grows, adapts, and even has rudimentary consciousness." They reached the ship's core, a chamber filled with crystalline structures pulsing with energy. "This is our propulsion and life support nexus," she said. "It converts cosmic radiation into usable energy." Mason reached out, mesmerized by the patterns of light. "It's beautiful." "Beauty and function are inseparable to us," Verina said, watching his reaction. "Like art and science, or emotion and logic." Later, as they shared a meal in her private quarters, Mason noticed subtle changes in the lighting that seemed to respond to their conversation. The room felt intimate, comfortable in ways he couldn't explain. "Your people communicate differently than humans," Mason observed. "It's more than words." Verina nodded, leaning closer. "Stellarians are mildly empathic. We sense emotional states, intentions." She hesitated. "That's why we were drawn to your signal." It carried emotional resonance, loneliness, curiosity, hope. "You felt that?" Mason asked, surprised. Yes, her violet eyes held his. Just as I can feel your response to me now. Mason felt his face warm. That must be inconvenient. Verena laughed, the sound like musical notes. Only when trying to be diplomatic. Her hand moved across the table, fingers stopping just short of his. I sense your attraction, Mason. It mirrors my own. The admission startled him. Is that allowed? Between different species? We have compatibility protocols, she said, her voice softer. Ilara's test confirmed basic biological compatibility. The rest, she smiled, the rest is about connection. Something I believe we already have. As Mason looked at her, this extraordinary being from across the stars who had answered his signal, he realized the greatest discovery of his career might not be scientific at all. Hidden truths. 2 weeks into Mason's visits to the Lunaris, the research station received an unexpected transmission. Earth's Space Defense Command had detected the alien vessel and was dispatching a reconnaissance team to investigate. They would arrive in 72 hours. Mason paced his quarters, weighing his options. The connection between himself and Verena had deepened with each passing day. Their conversations had evolved from scientific exchange to personal histories, shared dreams and lingering touches that sent electricity through his body. Yet something about the Stellarian's mission still felt incomplete. Questions Verena deflected, glances between crew members he couldn't interpret. A soft chime announced a visitor. It was Neria, Verena's second officer, her expression more serious than usual. We need to talk, she said, stepping inside without waiting for invitation. About Verena, about why we're really here. Mason gestured toward a chair. I've sensed there's more to your mission. Neria remained standing, her deep purple skin shifting with subtle patterns that seemed to reflect her emotional state. Captain Verena has grown attached to you. It affects her judgment, and that concerns you because you don't understand what's at stake. Neria's eyes fixed on his. Our homeworld, Stellara, was destroyed 3 years ago. A stellar catastrophe. The Lunaris carries one of the last populations of our species. The revelation stunned Mason. You're refugees? Why didn't Verena tell me? Pride, perhaps, or fear of how you might react to our true purpose. Neria moved to the window, looking out at Antarctica's desolation. We've searched 17 systems for a compatible world. Each has proven unsuitable until we detected your signal. Earth? Mason shook his head. But surely you've seen our population, our conflicts. We hardly have room for— Not Earth itself, Neria interrupted. But this solar system contains several terraformable bodies. With our technology, Mars could support life within decades. Mason processed this information, pieces falling into place. So why not simply approach our governments? Why the secrecy? Because of the second truth. Neria turned back to him. Our attraction to humans isn't coincidental. Our species shares compatible genetic structures, similar enough that we could potentially ensure our future generations. The implication was clear. Mason recalled Ilara's tests, Verena's mention of compatibility protocols. Does Verena know you're telling me this? No, she wanted to wait until— Neria hesitated, until she was certain of your feelings. But with your military approaching, there's no more time for careful courtship. Mason sat heavily. I need to speak with her. She's coming now. Neria moved toward the door. What happens next affects both our peoples, Dr. Reed. Choose carefully. She departed moments before Verena arrived, her expression troubled. Without words, Mason knew she had learned of Earth's approaching military response. You should have told me everything, Mason said quietly. About Stellara, about why you're really here. Verena's composure faltered. I wanted you to know me first, not just our circumstances. She moved closer. What I feel for you isn't diplomatic strategy, Mason. It's unexpected, perhaps inconvenient, but genuine. And the genetic compatibility? Was that planned? Discovered, not planned. She reached for his hand, and despite everything, Mason didn't pull away. We came seeking a new home. Finding you was serendipity. The warmth of her touch still affected him, but now Mason understood the weight of what was unfolding. Not just a personal connection, but potentially the future of two species. Your people need a home, he said. My people need to know they're not being invaded. There must be a way to achieve both. Verena's violet eyes brightened. Help me bridge that gap, Mason. Be our translator, our advocate. As they began formulating a plan to approach Earth's authorities, Mason realized their personal relationship and this diplomatic mission had become inseparable, each dependent on trust, understanding, and the hope that differences could become strengths. Crossing stars, the military transport landed 2 kilometers from the research station, disgorging a dozen armed personnel led by Commander Elena Santos. Mason waited for them at the entrance, alone as agreed. The Lunaris had temporarily retreated to orbit, visible only as a distant shimmer against the Antarctic sky. "Dr. Reed," Santos greeted him, eyes scanning for signs of coercion. "Are you unharmed?" "Perfectly fine, Commander," Mason assured her, "though I have quite a story to tell you." Inside, Mason presented the evidence of his encounters, Stellarian technology samples Verena had permitted him to share, scientific data they'd exchanged, and recorded conversations outlining the refugees' proposal for settlement on Mars. "You're suggesting we just allow an alien species to colonize our solar system?" Santos asked incredulously. "I'm suggesting a historic opportunity for cooperation," Mason countered. "They possess terraforming technology centuries beyond ours, knowledge about space travel that could advance our capabilities exponentially." After hours of discussion, Santos reluctantly agreed to arrange a controlled meeting between Stellarian representatives and Earth's newly formed Interspecies Contact Commission. The Lunaris was permitted to land under strict protocols with Verena, Neria, and Alara designated as official envoys. The formal negotiations took place over 3 tense days. Mason served as cultural interpreter, helping bridge misunderstandings when they arose. He watched with pride as Verena articulated her people's needs while demonstrating respect for human concerns. During a brief recess on the final day, Verena found Mason alone in the observatory. "Your military still doesn't fully trust us," she observed. "Trust takes time," Mason replied. "But the scientific community is already excited about the possibilities. The Mars proposal is gaining support." Verena moved closer, the familiar scent of her skin making Mason's heart quicken. "And us? What becomes of us when these negotiations conclude?" It was the question they'd both been avoiding. If the Stellarians gained settlement rights on Mars, Mason would return to Earth, Verena to lead her people. The distance would be insurmountable for any normal relationship. "I've been thinking about that," Mason said, taking her hands in his. "Someone will need to serve as Earth's liaison to the Mars colony. I've already submitted my application." Verena's eyes widened. "You would leave your world?" "Not entirely. Mars would become a shared world, part of both our stories now." He moved one hand to touch her face, the lavender skin warm beneath his fingertips. "Besides, I've spent most of my life studying signals across vast distances. I'd like to stop transmitting and start connecting." Her smile was radiant. "A bridge between stars. Between peoples," he corrected. "Starting with us." The final agreement was signed the following day. Earth would assist the Stellarian settlement on Mars in exchange for technological knowledge. A cultural exchange program would facilitate understanding between the species, and Dr. Mason Reed would become the first human ambassador to the Stellarian Mars colony, scheduled to depart in 6 months. On their last night at the Antarctic station, Mason and Verena stood beneath the Aurora Australis, the same celestial phenomenon that had helped carry his signal to her ship. "It's strange," Mason said, watching the lights dance across the sky. "All my life I've looked up at the stars, sending messages into the void, never certain anyone was listening." Verena's fingers intertwined with his. "I was listening. Across 12 light years I heard you." She turned to him, and in the glow of Earth's magnetic field meeting solar wind, their lips met. A different kind of first contact, equally momentous in its own way. Mason knew there would be challenges ahead, biological differences to navigate, cultural misunderstandings to resolve, skeptics on both sides to convince. But as Verena's arms encircled him, her body fitting perfectly against his despite evolving on a world circling a distant star, Mason understood something profound. The universe wasn't just about distances and signals. It was about connections. Improbable, wonderful connections that defied explanation but felt somehow like coming home. In 6 months, they would begin building that home together on the red plains of Mars, writing a new chapter not just in their lives, but in the histories of both their peoples, a story that began with a signal sent into the darkness and answered with light.